Welcome to the top 10 predictions for spring 2025, a psychic forecast. And spring 2025 is going to have a little bit of everything. Some things that we'll see happening are going to be really good. Some things are going to be very challenging. But one thing for sure is that this spring is not going to be vanilla. So if you like adventure, I hope you like adventure. Let's all put on our big boy shoes and create a new world and see humanity through to the golden age. So before I dive into the 10 points or the 10 predictions, I wanted to just say that my ultimate goal is to help you to understand the energies of this time so that you can navigate them and you can thrive and do as best as you can. So the predictions are basically based on the present moment. So in other words, I'll get information from my guides, the master teachers. They may be symbols or visions or feelings, whatever. And these are visions of the future, but they're visions of the future projected from what's happening in the now. So if we change the energy of the now, it's going to change some of these predictions. Timelines are fluid. So we have the ability to navigate these times and to mitigate the very challenging things and to help to raise consciousness so that we can have a smoother transition into this new earth, into this new reality, this new domain on planet Earth. So in any event, if we're ready, let's dive on in. Hi, and welcome to the Medium channel. And if you want to help get this information out to more people, please like the video. So in order to, I got a lot on my notes, and there's some bits of automatic writing that I actually have to read that came through as I was preparing my notes. But anyway, to understand these energies and to understand what's going on in the world so you can not only be safe through the changes, but to thrive through them, you have to understand there's a new and a higher frequency that's affecting planet Earth and all life on planet Earth. It's affecting the planet, it's affecting consciousness, it's affecting the collective fields, and it's creating a situation where a lot of the old stuck energy is being released, and it's creating a lot of strife on the planet, but it is leading to new and better and much more positive things. So understand that there's a new energy. Basically, we're reversing thousands of years of slavery. This is more into automatic writing. We've forewarned you of a coming teardown for a good while. Well, now it's here. It can't be easy, but the less we resist the change and the more we resist the negative programming, the smoother the transition from the old primitive Earth to the new ascended Earth will be. We'll have to let go. We'll have to accept what's happening and trust Spirit's plan. This has to happen for our ultimate success as humanity. That doesn't mean that you can't have an opinion on politics or what's going on in the world. And it doesn't mean that you can't take action, but it's important to resist the temptation or resist the emotional programming that promotes fear, hatred, and mockery against the other side. In other words, come from a high vibe place, and then you'll get high vibe solutions to or high vibe courses of action to take in order to fulfill whatever your beliefs are on the politics, whatever you believe is right. Hopefully that makes sense. But anyway, the program mentality is a big problem that takes us farther from the solution. So don't buy into the program mentality. Don't turn on the other person, because that takes us farther from the solution. The solution is realigning with Source, Spirit, or God. And that's when higher solutions are going to come in and higher realities are going to start to be built through our perceptions, through our knowledge and wisdom, and through our actions. Remember, God's source and higher beings are in charge. All we need to do is let go, trust, and take appropriate action when we're called to. Probably the most challenging time is going to be from around the equinox through April. April's the 13th month that reduces to 4. That's Uranus energy. That's about evolution, revolution, sudden change, sudden surprises. The May's a 14-5 months, so that's about change. It's also about healing, and so it is number 6. So things may smooth out a little bit in May in June before we reach the next phase of the teardown, which will be in July, and we'll get to that when we get closer to the summer. But this is the year of the snake. What does the snake do? It sheds its old skin, grows new skin. It transmutes poison into medicine. And all the struggles and strife and challenges that we're seeing in the world and around us, that can become our greatest tool to fuel our awakening and our growth. So try to hang in there, even if things are very daunting and seem very challenging and scary. It's going to fuel a mass evolution, a revolution of sorts, and then awakening of humanity, so to speak. So March was the month the earth will shake. We talked about that in the beginning of March. Whether there's a lot of physical earthquakes or earth shaking things happening on the news or a combination thereof, it's an energetic shaking. We've seen spikes in energy like we've never seen before. And now the effects of this energetic shaking is going to start to show up in the earth in massive changes. So we've got 10 predictions or 10 points to make. Number one is spring 2025 is the season of the storm. Energetic storms are happening. We'll get through it. Like any other storm, preparedness and knowledge is key. But this is a storm that's going to really systematically or maybe even chaotically tear down the old systems that don't work. So it's a necessary step in our evolution. The more who evolve and ascend in consciousness and feed positivity, the more that we're going to soften the storm. So again, things don't have to be so traumatic. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom. If we raise our vibration and frequency, even individually, it feeds the collective. The more that do this, the easier the transition is going to be, the less suffering, the less trauma has to happen. I can't emphasize that enough. So I may say it more than once, but it's a necessary step in human evolution. Old facades must fall to rebuild on new foundation. So the second point, or the second prediction, is it's the season of truth. A spirit symbol that I got when I was preparing my notes was a boomerang. You know, you throw the boomerang, it comes back at you. Karma starts returning to those committing crimes against humanity. We may start to see signs of that. Fauci, Gates, I'm not going to go into the details of that because these are controversial topics or subjects, but suffice it to say that evidence that supports things not being handled well as far as pandemics go, information that needed to come out before vaccination programs were mandated, stuff like that, things about food, farming, additives in food, poisons, chemicals, the truth versus the fallacy or myth of global warming. All these truths are coming out. This is the time of mass exposure of corruption that's likely to be peaking during the season, or this could be one peak. It's not going to all happen in 1 year. It's not going to all happen in one season. It's a teardown that we're seeing in the spring. So suppression information surfaces. On pandemic, we talked about that. Information that they could put the pharmaceutical companies in the hot seat, and other corporations and systems of the world ruled by the globalists that basically serve a minute few at the suffering of a great many. And the allegations anyway that profit is more important to certain groups of individuals that control things than the health and well-being of the people. In other words, illness is profitable, war is profitable. And a lot of us know this, but then we start to see more evidence of those dynamics in action playing out, basically. So what else? Corporate scandals, government scandals, partial Epstein-Diddy list. I'm thinking more of it in the summer. I don't know if we'll ever have the whole list, but I think we'll have an idea. And other forms of corruption and cover-ups, a lot of it. And I can't possibly mention all of it. There's going to be definitely things that I'm going to miss, but I'm covering this as a general topic right now. A lot of corruption being exposed on so many different levels. And things behind the unfair systems that enslave humanity are really going to be coming out, underground trafficking, human trafficking, underground tunnels, the agendas behind wars, the agendas behind illness, the agendas behind takeovers of countries, all that kind of stuff. Even in the scientific community, a lot of stuff is really coming out. Number 3 is the season of chaos, and energies will be extremely intense. It's very hard to predict how these energies are going to play out because of the intensity. I have to be honest with that, but it's going to be very extreme. People are literally going crazy out there. We're probably going to see a lot of that going on. A lot of shocking things that come up in the news around people. More anger and frustration than ever. This isn't doom and gloom, I promise, but understand these energies, and then you can be in the heart, be in the eye of the storm, and be in your safe place, so that you can make a difference rather than get pulled into the cesspool of negative energy. So stay in that positive. All part of the programming to separate people from their divinity. So it's all part of that, to separate people from their divinity, the grand plan of the deep state agenda, whatever you want to call them, to keep everybody in survival emotion, and that way you're cut off from spirit, God, or source. But it helps people awaken to see beyond the illusion. So that's the good part about all of this chaos, is that out of chaos comes order, out of confusion comes clarity, and it's actually going to help to wake people up in the end. The pace continues to be fast. People scared and angry, awakening one. So this came through in channeling. We have to hold space to buoy the collective in this emotional storm that we're in the season of chaos. This will help everyone. Be in the heart, ground, hold space, call on spirit, source, God, your ascended beings to help. We can energetically help people get through these scary times. It's necessary for collective ascension. The old has to fall, and uncertainty breeds control. So the uncertainty and everything that's happening so quickly and seeming so damaging, at least on the surface, and some of it below the surface, is really keeping people in the edge of their seats and keeping them very anxious, basically. And again, that keeps people from being able to connect with their own divinity and for ascending and growing and for finding solutions. Number 4 is the season of political change. And we're basically having like one ruling system kind of displacing the globalists or the cabal right now and creating like a new form of division, a new form of rulership. Here in the States with the Trump administration, Elon Musk and such. So it could seem like one cabal is replacing another in a way, but I think ultimately what's happening is that this current president is the agent of change. It's something that we created from a collective level, even though it's creating additional chaos and suffering through the transition, but it is helping to dislodge the old and expose some truth. Now, I don't think that this administration is the freedom, it is the truth. I think that exists beyond politics, but I think it's a step along the way, and it's helping to awaken people. Here's what we have wrote down. Firstly, watch out for a potential Trump assassination. We've been talking about that for a while. The target time was around April. Sometimes the timing doesn't pan out, and again, as energy changes in the collective, it changes some of these predictions, and these are just visions, it's a forecast, but they were showing the potential for an inside job. I'm seeing females or something connected to females. And Kamala Harris may become more active in politics again. That's something to keep an eye out on also. So we also see mounting pressures against Donald Trump from both parties. And we also see some health concerns. So there's a chance he could be forced down as soon as April in the spring months to the early summer. I still feel like it's more likely to be 2.5 years for different reasons. But again, the timelines are fluid. There's a very real chance that we could have a change of presidency in the spring months here in the U.S. and in other countries also. So let's see what else. Possible violence or terrorist act could seal off the White House or Mar-a-Lago or something like that. Continuations of the Stargate project. Also, I was seeing, and I mentioned this in other live stream and videos about Putin may be having skin cancer. Somebody from that area, 'cause I've seen lesions on the skin. I don't know what it means. It could mean something else. I also get a sense of some big changes in the British Parliament having ripple effects on the European Union as part of the political climate change, changes in NATO and stuff like that. I think King Charles has some health stuff coming up. I believe, I don't keep total track of this, but I believe he's in cancer treatment now. Is that true? But it could get worse. There could be some issues around that, so heads up with that. Lots of changes around Australian demonstrations are being shown. Also South Africa. Shifts in global agendas coming up. Changes in immigration laws. Some lawsuits come up. And awareness of maybe legal immigrants being treated like illegal immigrants. Poor treatment, especially targeting the poor. So we see some of these unfortunate incidences getting more exposure, and that's the way it's going to change at the end. Also, they're also showing Greenland being actually divided, and the U.S. and maybe Denmark or Scandinavia. They're showing U.S. having a bigger chunk. These may be things on the drawing board. It may not happen exactly this month. And also either five countries controlling the Panama Canal or vying for control, and the U.S. continuing to push the agenda to expand to incorporate Mexico, Canada, and almost to create like an American Union in a way. Now, I don't necessarily see that this is going to pan out. Certainly not in the spring months, but I think we're going to hear a lot about that. So the fifth point is the season of mass awakenings. And I see native teachings in this country and others becoming more prevalent. I see technologies being developed to enhance spiritual awakening, to communicate with spirits. So I think there's going to be AI that's going to be useful tools for mediums also, which would be interesting. Hopefully I won't be out of a job, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, right? I see more people than ever having spiritual awakenings. I see subtle signs of that in the governments and the laws. More recognition of our higher abilities, more about alternative healings, more people channeling, more contacts with extraterrestrial beings, or more awareness of that, more disclosures, probably later in the period or even after the spring, more recognition of positive signs amidst a lot of the challenges and chaos. So I think spirituality, a lot of people are going to be having awakenings, realizations. The more that awaken, the easier the transition from the old archaic earth into the new ascended earth. So number 6 is the season of revolution. And I'm seeing a record number of cyber attacks. Most war or earth battles or struggles is fought on the cyber battlefield. So a lot happens on the internet or online. Let me see. One big cyber attack towards June or July could target military or initiate conflict. I'm seeing a vision of the Statue of Liberty with drones or copters or planes around it. I've mentioned that before in other videos. Now, that could just be a symbol of freedom being attacked, but there could be something around like terrorist activity or bomb scares or some threats in that area. See a lot of underground operations against globalists, and that movement, being scattered and being compromised, and them constantly trying to change their agendas. We see Trump administration exposing a lot and opening doors for freedom, a new golden age. But we see this more as a step towards ultimate freedom that exists beyond current politics. So again, I do believe that he is the man for the job, love him or hate him, as I've been saying for, over a decade now. This is the figure that's going to cause not that he's exposing it, but cause a lot of the ills to be exposed and catalyze great change and great awakening in its wake, basically. So number 7 thing is the season that the earth stood still, and I got a vision that planes weren't moving, people were sheltering in place. It could just be, again, symbolic, and again, timelines are fluid. We could avoid that, but what that could mean is there could be some regional blackouts. I feel like Eastern Canada, the Northeast, could be part of that. Also, Southern Hemisphere, like Australia. I don't think it's going to be that necessarily that 3 days or 3 months of darkness or global, but I had this vision that nothing was moving. and planes were grounded, people were sheltering. Just a potential, but this could relate to possible pandemic scare, though I don't think that would happen that soon. Solar flares, the sun, it's definitely changing. It's at a solar maximum of cyber attacks. A number of things could actually cause that. So be aware, have a few extra supplies just in case there's a period that travel may be halted, airplanes may be grounded, big volcanoes can cause it, a lot could cause that. So number 8 was the season of economic reset, recession towards you. We've been talking about this for a while. We predicted the February-March crash many months ago before Trump was even elected, basically. Shifts shifts of some of the tariffs, rescinding of some of them, a possible agenda to intentionally crash the economy to rebuild it. I'm getting, well, I am on the economy, so this is the right time to be talking about that. And so there's a lot of conjecture of why that's happening, if these tariffs and other measures are to intentionally crash the economy and cause a recession. So when the stocks come down, see who buys the stocks. When land's foreclosed, see who buys the land. See what groups, what interests are around that. And you may get a glimpse or an idea of where the corruption is or where the agendas are, if there is one. New cryptos, possible surge in the market later, but also, continued stock market crash, talks of stimulus, taxes being amended, all that stuff, changes in global financial structure. Again, watch out who benefits. But the long and the short of it is, it's a big economic reset, moving more into a quantum financial system. We may see the beginnings or the proposals of gold backed, not just paper currency, but digital currencies also. And as things crash and different nations and interests get together, what's happened is that the interests that are trying to manipulate the system for their gains gets more exposed, and then it becomes more of a fair system. So number 9, we see this as the season of global resets. Weather records continuing to be broken at an increasing pace. More fires again, some suspicious as well as other things. Could be so I was seeing Rome for some reason, so around Italy that could be hit by some of this also, fires or earthquakes, volcanoes. In fact, I'm seeing more volcanoes, more earthquakes on the planet. Hawaii, which it's pretty active right now. Northwest Pacific, Japan, Southeast Asia, and the Mediterranean especially. Landslides. Watch out again for tsunami. That's been on the table for a while. Significant flooding, early start to the hurricane season. Again, the Earth's resetting. There's going to be a lot of geological and weather related events, and part of the exposure of corruption could be more exposure of things like weather modification, use of HARP and other technologies around that, and a greater understanding of that. So I'm not going to dive into that in too much detail, but it's going to be a season of crazy weather, lots of severe weather, lots of resetting, basically. So number 10 is the season of scientific breakthroughs in record numbers, big technology rollouts this spring. We're really going to start to feel the pinch and the effect of AI this spring and how that's changing the society. So we're really going to start to see the shift. There could be a new pandemic threat. I think I covered that in order to push out mRNA vaccines and technology, basically. And that's also part of the science, is these new vaccines interfacing with AI for cancer vaccines. Things along those lines, things of that nature. So we see all of that rolling out. Other medical breakthroughs, maybe medbed technology, frequency medicines, new things, new surgical techniques utilizing AI. It's amazing. This is some of the good stuff. Again, with technology and AI, they're obviously tools that could be abused or used for control, but I do feel like there's going to be some genuine positive scientific breakthroughs and breakthroughs in technology and all that kind of stuff. Inciting inventions roll out. Interesting. I was seeing something at the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, whatever name you want to call it. The discoveries of undergrounds. I think things are being discovered under the ocean, underground civilizations, ancient cities. Maybe that also huge breakthroughs with the extraterrestrials and breaking through communications and understanding, again, how different societies may have existed on the moon and Mars and working with the governments and stuff like that. So all kinds of things opening up. This is going to be a really big and exciting development of a lot of technology, a lot of invention that's going to change our lives. It's going to change cars. It's going to change air traffic control. It's going to change rockets and space exploration and things we discover in space. I feel like there's going to be an important discovery in quantum physics that's going to further prove some spiritual theory and really give some validity to and some understanding to create devices to be able to read subtle energies, even more subtle than the Schumann resonance, that validate that the frequencies are increasing and that humanity's awakening and evolving. So, and there's much, much more with that. So that's basically what I have. So let me over here bring you to another forecast for 10 top predictions for the rest of 2025. So that will be here. Thank you, and stay in the heart, stay in your power, and breathe love and send love out to the universe. And I love you.